Okay, we got to cover. Speaking of your work, gave
Uh,
me a story this week that I think you should tell.
yeah. There's a story this week. So I work as a security guard, like I've said a million times, but like apparently like the shift before me had like chased a guy around his parking garage for like half the night. And so I get there and they're like, "Hey, can you go out and check on this?" And I get out there and the guy is passed out. He's in a sleeping bag. But oh god, it's so horrible. So there's like this gigantic shit right there, right? And it's like the shape of like the Jurassic Park Triceratops shit. It's like it's kind of solid, it's kind of mushy, and it's kind of like well, it's like wet and damp out, so it's kind of like it's spread a little bit. And so this guy, before he passed out, like he took this gigantic shit, and then like he passed out, he went to sleep like right next to it, just like a foot away from it. And like I get up and I'm like, oh Jesus, this is awful. And and the other guy had gone home at this point and just abandoned him, like he didn't want anything to do with it anyway. He's like, you guys aren't paying me enough for this shit, you know.
Literally.
But so I get out there and I find him and he's sleeping, but he's gone to sleep next to his shit. At some point, he's like rolled into the shit, and like he's got shit all over his sleeping bag, and oh, it's awful. And so I try to rouse him, like I yell and I try to disturb enough to get up, but like he'll give me like a couple seconds where he just kind of mumbles and just straight back out into hard snoring, and like I assume that's drug use, but he was pretty out of it. And so me and like a bike guy had come, and we were sitting there kind of watching him and taking turns and relieving people and just doing whatever, but we haven't done too much with him. And of course, the person I'm with, Polly, is a transgender female. Is she loves bad puns. So for like 10 minutes, well, 10 minutes plus like it slowed down around 10 minutes, right? But it's like, oh, it's a shitty day. They don't pay me enough to put up with this crap. Usually like I like a good shit in the morning, and it was just like it was endless. I was like, oh god, it's like part of me wanted to join in, part of me just wanted it to end. But yeah, so that's going on for a while, and so our office calls this kind of like a charitable company that they work with the homeless, and these two kind of fairly young girls, I'd say probably 20s, pretty good looking. They come out and they're talking to him. They kind of get him to where he's talking to him a little bit. He's mumbling. He's really hard to understand. And they're like, "You want some food? You want some water?" They're just trying to get him to kind of sit up so they can assess how he is. Because if he's bad enough and they assess it badly enough, that then they can basically have him picked up and taken in for health reasons. But he's not really coming out. Like he sticks his hand out when they offer him food, and he won't put his head out. He won't do anything other than that. So they give him a granola bar. And he's got this granola bar, and he's trying to crumple it in his hand. He's like, "That's not food. That's not food." And I'm like, "Oh man!" And then like he's like he's just his hand sticking out, and like he starts rubbing it on the ground, and there's this shit right here, and he's like rubbing it, and I'm like, "Oh, please, please don't eat this." He's like, "It's not food. It's not food." And so like they end up giving him some chips, and he's kind of like doing the same thing with the bag. He's like, "It's not food. This isn't food." And eventually they give him some water, and so we kind of step back and we're talking. They're like, he's obviously bad. He's probably been on drugs. He's having some issues, but he's probably not bad enough to get him to take him in. And so somewhere during this, like he's taking the food back under his sleeping bag, and like I hear the chips rattling, and I hear him eating in there, and I'm just like, I know his hand and the food has touched shit, and he's just under there, just like eating his own shit. Oh, it was. Oh, I just wish they hadn't like given him anything. It's like I was just so. It's just so raw. But
I mean, based on the size of the shit he took, apparently he had been eating.
yeah, apparently he wasn't starving. I mean, he was slim when he finally came out and saw him, but yeah, he took like a it was a pile, and I was just like, oh my god. But eventually, they called the like the EMT, and they had a couple medical guys came out, and they're a little more like physical, I guess, but they covered their what do you call their cot or whatever. I forget what it's called now.
The what?
You know, they bring out the cot on the wheels to pick people
Like a stretcher?
a stretcher. But you know, they covered it in like plastic like 3 times, and then like you know, they got the plastic gloves on, and like one of them's kind of trying to pull back the sleeping bag so he can talk to him and stuff, and he starts getting agitated, you know, and
But I mean, it is a health risk if he's covered in shit.
yeah, but nobody wants to deal with
Oh,
some
I know.
covered shit.
I know.
These guys were good. They were really, really nice, and they were actually willing to do it, you know. But he starts pulling it back, and they're like, you know, can we get you help, whatever? And the guy's just, no, no, no. Like, he refused everything. And, like, finally, he just got agitated enough. He got up with his sleeping bag and walked off. But, like, his pants under the sleeping bag, they were all covered in shit. Like, it was just something to behold. And like what do you even do? Like, I didn't have like anything in my tool bag to deal with this guy. Like, I don't want to get close to it. Like, I don't want to touch anything that's shitty. And just like, you know, maybe he wins. Like, even the paramedic was after he left it. He was like, you know, if there's an apocalypse, like, he's the guy who's gonna go the distance because he's
He's gonna be
already
like
been
the
there.
cockroaches in that guy.
Right. He's gonna be okay. I was like, oh man.
Yeah, I was telling you, this guy apparently never heard "Don't shit where you sleep"
Oh,
or eat.
like what kind of state do you have to be in? Because
I'm actually.
your instincts have to be pretty strong.
I mean, the state this guy's in, I'm surprised he didn't just like shit in his pants. I'm surprised he actually like
He had the
Shit,
wherewithal to.
shit on the pavement. You know.
Yeah. You think maybe it was just like such a good shit? He's like, oh god.
Now I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm tuckered out.
It was like an orgasm shit, and he had to go straight to sleep.
I mean, but you'd think, yeah, like I just took a big shit, like, yeah, you know, maybe I'll go at least, 10, 12 feet
10
away,
feet, yeah.
something. Not
like
sleep
right next to
right
you.
next to it in roll position, you know.
I will say
Danger
though, like,
close.
if you don't want like somebody to fuck with you,
Oh, yeah, maybe it was like keeping other people away.
because you roll up on this guy, you're like, I'm not fucking with him. I'm not gonna, try to steal his shoes. I'm not gonna, like, no. Like, even other homeless people would be like, I'll go, I'll do something else.
You know how they say in prison, like on your first day, like take a swing at the biggest guy there. My thing is on your first day, take a big old shit right by your bed.
just smear yourself and shit.
Be like,
Who wants some?
I'm not fucking with that guy ever.
I'd be like, oh, Shitty Johnson, you want to leave him alone?
It would be a good tactic. Nobody's gonna fuck with you if you're covered in shit.
You ever tried to catch a shit greased?
I went to stab him in his sleep when I stepped in a pile of his shit.
I'd be like one of those guards in the Green Mile that just breaks out the fire hose and just like hoses your skin off. And be like, you gonna do that again? Jeez. Oh.
Man, speaking of shit, like I was watching Your Mom's House and like
Great segue.
always. But anyway, like they went online and they showed this thing that's called like I want to say it's called like the Bristol scale or something like that.
That sounds familiar.
But basically it shows like 7 different types of shit.
okay.
And like, one means you're constipated. It goes like 1 through 7. 1 is constipated. 7 is just like water
Inferior,
shit. Yeah,
right.
like you're sick. And like all the range in between. But the funny thing is, looking at it, I'm like, I recognize all those shits. I've had all those shits at one time or another. But the funny thing is like, so yeah, like number 7 is just like basically straight liquefied
Right.
water, and we've all had that at one time or another. But 1 is like the small pebble shits.
Oh.
And that supposedly means, like, according to their scale, that you're like really constipated. But like, I have those type of shits regularly, and like, I'm never like feel like I'm constipated. Like, constipated to me means like you feel you have to shit, but you can't. Like, I'm never like that. But I have those shits frequently.
Like if I eat some cheese, I'll definitely have a hard shit. But like it's kind of funny because sometimes in little pebbles, it's like a lot of work. You're just
Yeah.
like, ah!
Which maybe is a sign of constipation.
Right. Yeah.
What's weird
It's
though is like
sticking to the sidewalk. or
lately
something.
I've been taking like probably 2 shits a day, and like usually one of them is one of those, and then the other one is more like of a like probably a healthier consistency, like a 3 or a 4 on their scale or whatever, the healthy
middle,
ones.
middle of the range.
So like I don't know. I much prefer having those like hard shits than like, a sloppy sticky one.
The sticky ones.
The sticky ones are the worst.
Got to be close to the worst. Yeah.
That's what I gotta say. Another reason I love the bidet is when you do get a sticky shit, you can actually get clean. Whereas with toilet paper, you just like you wipe until you're like physically tired, and then you're like, man, I gotta call this one.
Yeah. there's like shit and blood on the toilet paper. You're like, oh, I guess that's as good as it's gonna get.
Yeah, guess I'm gonna have swamp ass today.
It's me and you, garage guy.